Right now, someone less sharp than you is calling the shots where it counts. They're landing the promotion, earning the respect, wielding real influence. And you're left scratching your head, wondering why your smarts aren't paying off. Here's the harsh truth. You're stuck in the wrong game. You believe being intelligent means laying out your ideas clearly, proving your points with facts, dazzling everyone with what you know. But while you're pouring out explanations, Somio Nequieta, someone who says barely a word, is observing everything, plotting their next move, and coming out on top. That's not random luck. It's not some magical charisma. It's pure strategy. 500 years ago, a guy named Niccolo Machiavelli cracked the code on something most folks never grasp. Intelligence without influence is just background noise. You can be the brightest mind around and still get pushed aside. Power doesn't flow from what you know. It's all about how you play the angles. Today, I'm breaking down 7 dark lessons from Machiavelli that will shift the way you operate. These aren't nice, polite tips. They won't make you feel warm and fuzzy. This is the real, often unspoken side of power. The silent strategies that separate those who get taken advantage of from those who command genuine respect. So, if you're tired of being overlooked, tired of explaining yourself, fed up with watching people who aren't nearly as capable rise above you, this is for you. It's time to stop explaining and start strategizing. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. Silence is my strategy. Let's get into it. Number 1. Stop explaining. Start observing. Every time you explain yourself, you lose a little bit of power. You think you're being transparent. You think you're being helpful. But what's really happening? You're handing out your playbook for free. You're showing people exactly how you think, what bothers you, what you're afraid of, and the moment they know that, they own you. Smart people explain. Powerful people observe. Think about every meeting you've been in. Who runs it? Not the person presenting 20 slides. Not the person giving the longest answer. It's the person asking the right questions. The one taking mental notes. The one who speaks last and says the least. Why? Because while everyone else is performing, they're collecting data. Machiavelli once said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves." One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. Stop roaring. Start watching. The smartest people in any room aren't the ones talking. They're the ones taking notes, not on paper. Mentally, they're reading body language. They're noticing who interrupts who avoids eye contact, who laughs too loud, who agrees too fast, who's trying too hard to be liked. That's data. That's leverage. Most people walk into a situation trying to be heard. You walk in trying to understand. Because when you understand someone's patterns, their triggers, their insecurities, you don't need to argue with them. You already know how to move around them. Next time you're in a group conversation, try this. Say almost nothing for the first 10 minutes. Just watch. See who dominates. See who gets interrupted. See who people look at when something important is said. You'll notice patterns nobody else sees. And those patterns, they tell you everything about who actually has power and who's just making noise. Less explanation, more observation. The less you say, the more neutral you appear. The more neutral you appear, the more control you actually have. People can't manipulate what they don't understand. And if you're not constantly volunteering information about yourself, you become a mystery. And mysteries, they hold power. So next time someone asks you why you did something, try this. Don't answer or give them just enough to satisfy their curiosity, but not enough to predict you. Watch how the energy shifts. Watch how they start second-guessing themselves instead of you. When you stop explaining, people stop challenging you. They don't have enough information to fight back. They don't know your reasoning, so they can't poke holes in it. They're left guessing, and people who are guessing, they're not in control. You are. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I observe. I don't explain. Number 2. The shift of delayed reactions. Let me ask you something. When someone address picks you, what's your first instinct? Snap back, right? Defend yourself. Prove them wrong. Show them they can't talk to you like that. And you know what that makes you? Predictable. Emotional people react instantly. Intelligent people, they pause, they absorb, they calculate. And then when the moment is right, they respond. Here's what most people miss. The person who reacts first loses always, because that instant reaction, it's pure emotion. No strategy, no thought, just raw feeling. And when you're operating from emotion, you make mistakes. You say things you regret. You show your cards. You give away your power. But when you delay, even by just a few seconds, everything changes. Machiavelli once said, "Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception." You don't need to fight every battle the second it shows up. In fact, most battles aren't worth fighting at all. But if you're going to respond, do it when you're calm, clear, and 3 steps ahead. That delay, that small gap between what happened and how you react, that's where your psychological power lives. Because when you don't react immediately, people don't know what to do with you. They expect anger. They expect defense. They expect emotion. When they don't get it, they start questioning themselves. Did I go too far? Why aren't they responding? Are they planning something? And just like that, you flip the script. You're not the one scrambling, they are. I've seen this play out 1,000 times. Someone sends a disrespectful email. The emotional person fires back within minutes. And now they're in a back and forth war that makes them look petty. The strategic person, they read it. They close their laptop. They think, they wait. Maybe they respond the next day. Maybe they don't respond at all. Maybe they respond in person, where they have more control. But whatever they do, it's intentional, not reactive. Delayed reactions signal high status. It says, I'm not ruled by my emotions. I operate in my own timeline. Your urgency is not my emergency. And people respect that. Even if they don't like it, they respect it. So the next time someone tries to get under your skin, take a breath, smile if you have to say nothing. Let them sit in the silence. Let them wonder. Then when you're ready, and only when you're ready, make your move. That pause is your power. Use it. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I respond when ready. Number 3, the shift of Strategieklistung. Here's a secret most people never figure out. Everyone's dying to talk about themselves. Their problems, their goals, their opinions, their drama. And while they're talking, they're giving you everything. Their fears, their weaknesses, their desires, their blind spots. All you have to do is shut up and listen. Most people don't actually listen. They wait. There's a difference. Waiting to talk is when you're just sitting there nodding, thinking about what you're going to say next. You're not absorbing anything. You're just reloading. Strategic listening, that's different. That's when you're hunting for information. You're listening for what they're not saying. You're watching their face when certain topics come up. You're noticing when they change the subject, when they get defensive, when they light up. Machiavelli once said, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. The more you talk, the more you reveal. The more you reveal, the more ammunition you hand over. But when you listen, really listen, you collect intelligence. You learn what makes people tick, what they value, what they're running from, what they're reaching for. And that information, that's influence. See, most people listen just long enough to wait for their turn to speak. They're not actually hearing anything. They're just preparing their response. But you're different. You listen with intent. You ask the right follow-up questions. You make them feel heard. And in doing that, they open up even more. Here's what happens. Someone starts talking. You ask them one question, then another, then another. You're not talking about yourself. You're not trying to relate. You're just curious, genuinely curious. Before long, they've told you things they didn't even plan to say, things they wouldn't tell most people. And now you understand them better than they understand themselves. That's not manipulation. That's strategy. Because influence isn't about forcing people to do what you want. It's about understanding them so well that when you do speak, it lands exactly where it needs to. Think about it like this. If I know you're scared of being seen as weak, I'll never directly challenge your strength. I'll frame things differently. I'll give you an out that lets you save face while still getting what I want. If I know you value loyalty above everything, I'll never make it about logic or profit. I'll make. How? Number 4. The shift of energetic distance. You ever meet someone who's friendly, but you can't quite get close to them? They're not cold, they're not rude, but there's this distance, this invisible line you can't cross. That's not an accident. That's design. And it's one of the most powerful tools you can develop. Most people don't understand boundaries. They think a boundary is something you announce. Don't disrespect me. Don't waste my time. Don't cross this line. But real boundaries, they're energetic. They're felt, not spoken. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Now, I'm not saying you need to make people fear you, but you do need to create space, emotional space, energetic space. A boundary that says, "I'm here, but I'm not absorbed in your chaos." Here's what I mean. Most people are emotional sponges. Someone complains, they absorb it. Someone's anxious, they get anxious. Someone starts drama, they get pulled in. And that makes them easy to control. But when you maintain energetic distance, you become untouchable. You're present, but you're not entangled. You're engaged, but you're not emotionally invested in outcomes you can't control. Let me give you a real example. Someone comes to you upset. They're venting. They're looking for a validation. They want you to be upset with them. Most people fall into it. "Oh my God, that's terrible. I can't believe they did that." You should totally. Now you're in it. You're emotionally invested. You're carrying their weight. But the person with energetic distance, they listen. They acknowledge, but they don't absorb. That sounds frustrating. What are you going to do about it? Notice the difference. You're present. You're supportive, but you're not taking on their emotional state. You're not drowning in their storm. People feel that. They sense it. And it makes them respect you more because they realize, I can't pull this person into my mess. I can't guilt them. I can't manipulate them. That distance isn't coldness. It's clarity. It's protection. It's strength. You can still be kind. You can still be supportive. But you're not carrying their baggage. You're not letting their emotions dictate your energy. And when people see that you're calm in the middle of their storm, that's dominance. Quiet, unspoken dominance. Think about the people you respect most. I bet they're the ones who don't get rattled, who don't get sucked into drama, who somehow stay centered no matter what's happening around them. That's energetic distance. And it's a skill you can develop. So practice this. Be warm, but not available for everything. Be helpful, but not at the cost of your peace. Be present, but keep your center. They'll feel the shift and they'll adjust. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My peace is protected. Number 5. The shift of unspoken standards. You know what's weak? Announcing your standards. I don't tolerate disrespect. I value loyalty. I expect honesty. Cool. Nobody cares what you say. They care what you do. Words are cheap. Action is currency. Machiavelli once said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. For everyone can see and few can feel." People don't respect your words. They respect your boundaries. And boundaries aren't set with speeches. They're set with action, with silence, with walking away when something doesn't meet your standard. You don't need to tell people what you expect. You just stop tolerating what you don't. Here's how this looks in real life. Someone disrespects you. You don't argue. You don't give them a lecture about respect. You just create distance. You stop being as available. You stop engaging the same way. They might not even notice at first, but eventually they'll feel it. Someone wastes your time. You don't lecture them about being punctual. You stop giving them access. They text you. You take longer to respond. They want to meet. You're suddenly busy. No explanation, just adjustment. Someone breaks a promise. You don't remind them of all the times they let you down. You just remember and you adjust. Next time they ask for something, your answer is different. Your energy is different. That's how real standards work. Silently, consistently, unapologetically. Most people think boundaries are aggressive. Don't do this or I'll, but that's not a boundary. That's a threat. And threats make you look weak, because they mean you're still trying to control someone else's behavior through words. Real boundaries control your behavior, not theirs. You're not telling them to change. You're changing how you respond to them. And people notice. They might not say anything, but they notice. They realize, if I act a certain way around this person, I lose access. I lose their respect. I lose their time. And just like that, they start adjusting their behavior. Not because you demanded it, but because your actions made it clear. That's power. Real, quiet, undeniable power. I've seen this transform relationships. Someone who used to get walked over suddenly becomes someone people think twice about before crossing. Nothing changed except this. They stopped announcing standards and started enforcing them silently. No arguments, no explanations, just consistent action. Here's the thing most people miss. When you announce your standards, you're giving people a roadmap to manipulate you. They know exactly what to say, how to act, to get back in your good graces. I'm sorry. I know you value honesty, so I'm being honest now. I know respect is important to you, so let me explain. They're using your own standards against you, but when your standards are unspoken, they can't game the system. They don't know the rules. They just know that when they act a certain way, something shifts, and that uncertainty, that's what keeps them in check. So, stop announcing who you are. Start being it. Stop telling people what you won't accept. Just stop accepting it. Your silence will speak louder than any speech ever could. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My actions set standards. Number 6. Choose when to disappear. Your value increases in your absence. Not your permanent absence, your strategic absence. You ever notice how when someone's always available, they become background noise, but the moment they pull back, suddenly everyone's asking about them? That's not coincidence. That's scarcity, and scarcity drives value. Always has, always will. Machiavelli once said, "Wise men say nothing in dangerous times." Sometimes the smartest move is to step back, to disappear, to let people miss you. Because when you're always there, people take you for granted. They assume you'll always show up, always respond, always be available. But when you pull back, even just a little, they start wondering, where'd they go? Why aren't they around? Did I do something wrong? And suddenly your presence means something. Again, let me be clear. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about being fake or manipulative. This is about understanding a fundamental truth. Attention is currency, and if you're giving it away for free all the time, it loses value. Think about your phone. When someone texts you and you respond immediately every single time, what happens? They expect it. They know you're always available. Your attention becomes worthless because it's guaranteed. But when you're selective about when you respond, when you're not always the first to reach out, suddenly when you do show up, it matters. This works everywhere. At work, in relationships, in social circles. The people who are always available never command respect. They're nice, they're helpful, but they're not valued, because value comes from scarcity, not abundance. The people who know when to step back, they run the room without saying a word. Be present when it counts. Show up fully for the things and people that matter. But don't be everywhere all the time. Don't respond to every text instantly. Don't attend every event. Don't make yourself endlessly available. Create intentional distance. Maybe you used to respond within minutes. Now you take an hour, maybe 2. Not because you're playing games, but because you have your own life, your own priorities, your own focus. Maybe you used to show up to every hangout. Now you pick and choose. You show up for the important ones. You skip the ones that don't serve you. People will notice. At first they might be confused. Why aren't they around as much? But that confusion turns into something else. Respect, curiosity, value. Because the human brain is wired to want what it can't have. When you're always available, you're not desirable. When you're selective, you become interesting. I've watched this principle transform people's lives. Someone who used to bend over backward for everyone, always available, always helpful, decides to pull back. They focus on themselves. They stop being so reactive. They create space. And suddenly the same people who took them for granted start reaching out more, start valuing their time more, start treating them differently. Not because they became mean, but because they became scarce. So be selective. Show up when it matters. Disappear when it doesn't. Let people remember what it's like when you're not there. Let them feel your absence. And when you come back, they'll pay attention in ways they never did before. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My absence builds value. Number 7. The shift of calculated kindness. Let me be clear. Kindness is powerful, but only when it's intentional. Random kindness. That's weakness. That's people-pleasing. That's you trying to be liked by everyone, which means you're controlled by everyone. But calculated kindness, that's strategy. Most people think being kind means being nice all the time, saying yes, helping everyone, never pushing back, never saying no. And then they wonder why people walk all over them. Here's the truth. Kindness without boundaries isn't.